Hi, my name is Mike Kissinger. I'm at the War Memorial Building here in San Francisco, and I'm going to do a program today that is primarily for veterans and their spouses who are seeking other ways to make money. Isn't that a great idea? You know, one of the things that we've been finding out is that, veterans, with the unemployment that's happening to veterans, with the number of veterans who are homeless, with the various other things, it's amazing that no one has ever talked or did a presentation for veterans on how to take $200, simply $200, and turn it into, say, an income or an additional income of $450 a month, or an income of $50,000 a year, or an income of $150,000 a year, or potentially an income of $2.7 million a year. So that's what we're going to talk about today. And, you might say, well, why has this not happened in the past? What is really taking place, to not let you as a veteran understand that there are alternatives to job search. There's alternatives to unemployment. There's alternatives. One of the things that we find out is the alternatives that we look at are veterans who are disabled. What about the veterans that are over 45 or the veterans that are 50? You see, there are a lot of alternatives in America when you think about being a veteran and looking at the future that you can create if somebody sits down with you and shows you a simple plan on how you can turn all those things in your favor without having a lot of education, without having a lot of things that most of the time people would tell you that you have to have in order to improve your life. So that's what we're going to talk about today. And what we'll say is the information that we're going to talk about is something that you look at it and you say, well, how is this going to work? And how it works is that you look at it in two different perspectives. You look at it in the perspective of saying, well, what's the industry? What's the business? Is this real? Can it happen for me? And I can assure you that yes, it can, but you need to, sort of, as they say, get smart. Look at what you can do a little investigation of your own, ask some people that are knowledgeable and qualified in order to be able to do this with you. And then once you do that, you can say, well, yeah, I understand this process and I understand that it may be good for me. If you look at the fact that as a veteran, let's say that you're not working, but let's say you make $500 a week. You multiply that $500 a week that you're unemployed, you may be out of pocket $25,000, $50,000 every year because for some reason you couldn't satisfy the so-called American requirement that you have to do certain things to satisfy job search requirements. So that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about a business that I refer to as the business of the 21st century. And we're going to say, what business is this really? And in the past, for the people that have heard some of the presentations that I made, I've talked about the wellness industry. And the good part about having the position that I'm having today is that I can quote other people who are experts, proven experts, knowledge people who've been on television. They've written #1 best-selling books. They've talked to presidents. They've talked to all kinds of different people about what that particular industry will do. And there is a line that goes along with the wellness industry and a question that I normally ask, and that is, will you be one of the 10 new millionaires that are created by 2016 because you were smart enough to look at that industry? Another industry we're going to talk about is the internet, online retail. Now, what is that? And everyone here has heard about Amazon.com. A lot of people have heard about Jeff Bezos, who is the chairman of Amazon.com. And what he says is that the internet is expected to create $4 trillion in global retail earnings by the time it really takes and does the things it's going to do. So if you combine the wellness industry from Paul Zane Pilsner and you combine the internet industry that Jeff Bezos is talking about, what do you have? You have a potential industry that can generate for you an opportunity to get in on $6 trillion of potential earnings that's available in America. So as a veteran who is looking for a job, a veteran who is disabled, a veteran who has PTSD, or a veteran who has any other type of issue, There is no reason why you cannot participate in these industries and change your financial life. Now, who says so? People that say so that I'll quote is, how about Randy Fields, the co-founder of Mrs. Fields Cookies? How about former President Bill Clinton? How about Donald Trump? How about Warren Buffett? How about David Bach? He's a #1 bestseller who wrote The Automatic Millionaire. How about Jim Rohn, personal mentor of mine, has done all kinds of different programs to help veterans and various other people out to change their financial future. How about Brian Tracy? He talks to 4 million people a year. He's done all kinds of different programs, created Brian Tracy International. You know, these are people that, you know, are just not normal average people on the block, but the best of the best. How about Robert Kiyosaki, who wrote Rich Dad Poor Man, who pointed out in the cash flow quadrant, if you were able to go from being an employee and a person who was a sole small business proprietor into a person who owned business systems, that you in fact could profit in these two industries that I'm talking about. What about Les Brown? Or how about Anthony Robbins? Or how about Bob Proctor? You see, there are numerous people that agree with what it is that I'm saying. And the numerous people that agree with what I'm saying are people who have been there. People who've done this for 50 years, 25 years, 30 years. People who are really ready to provide you with an understanding and opportunity. So rather than being a veteran who feels like they're hopeless coming back to America and what's happening in the economy today, or being a veteran who's been disabled and say, well, there is nothing I can do, those realities really don't apply to you, especially if you look at what you can do. And as a veteran, you were trained that you could basically do anything. So if you can do anything and you open your mind to the industries that are available to you, this is something that you can do. Now, when you look at those industries and you look at the things that you really want to do, what's stopping you? What about your own head? What about your own mind? Some of the programs that I've talked about was, you know, how Andrew Carnegie became Andrew Carnegie. How the richest people in America became the richest people in America. How did they use the power of their subconscious mind, which is really the same mind that you have, to create the things that they wanted? Some of the things that I talked about in the past were the fact that thoughts are things. So what does that mean? It means if you think you're disabled and that that's where you're going to stay, that's where you're going to stay. If you're a veteran, you come back and you're hot and you're ready to go, that means that you're going to be successful and you're going to accomplish the things that you need to accomplish because they're available to you. In order to understand how this works, what I've done is I've taken some principles that Napoleon Hill talked about in Think and Grow Rich. And it's a book that I recommend that everyone reads, because if you go through those steps and you start looking at how you can start accomplishing the things that you want to accomplish, you find out that overall, you can basically do anything. So if you can do anything, what are the steps? What's the big principles that stand out there? So one of the big principles that comes out is the fact that you've got a brain. Sort of like, was it the straw man in The Wizard of Oz that said, I wish I had a brain? Well, the reality is that everything that you think, you tend to project into the environment that you live in. So the way that you think is you are creating exactly in your life just what you're getting. And how do you go through a process of changing that? You start learning methodologies, you start learning systems that allow you to be who you really are. One of the things that we talk about in the second process or second step is the subconscious mind. Some people might say, you know, you are absolutely insane when you talk about this power of subconscious mind. I don't believe it. I don't think it's ever going to work. I just never heard of it. But what is it? If you start looking at yourself and you really do a self-analysis of yourself, who are you? We know that you've got a conscious mind because you're thinking and you're using it every day. We know that certain things happens to you because you transmit that information to what we call your subconscious mind. It's a part of you that has habits. It forms your habits. It creates certain paradigms. It is what's referred to in metaphysics as the law of your life. Then we also know that you have a body. And that body that you have is what you look like today. It's your physical appearance. It's the structure that your mind lives in. And then we also know that because of the thoughts that you have, as you transmit them to your subconscious mind, it causes your body to perform certain types of activities. And as a result, you get the results that you're presently getting today. So the question for you is, how do you get to control what is making you who you are? How do you get to control that inside process so if life is not going for you the way you want it to go, that you can get the power that comes out of your subconscious mind to create exactly what you want? So what we look at here, and we're saying, okay, well, there's different parts, and you look at this entire process as far as how it works, and looking at the subconscious mind, and you're saying, well, there's certain types of powers that are there. And you go back to the book that I made reference to, which was Think and Grow Rich, and you say, okay, well, what made Think and Grow Rich the #1 personal development book in the entire world ever since it's been written? What's caused it to be a book that's sold 60 million copies? Why is it that every person who has ever read that book and understood it realizes that they can have whatever they want, especially if they understand it? What is the secret in that particular book? Now, it's really amazing because the book tells you, in the beginning, you already have half the stuff. However, you need to find the secret. And it tells you that when you're ready for the secret will be given to you, or you'll figure it out. Now, since I'm dealing with veterans who might not have read the book, might not ever pick up the book, what does it really say? The real secret is whatever your mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve. So what does that mean? It means that whatever your mind, whatever the thinking process that you have, that you're using today, is creating within your environment what you think. So if the word is whatever the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve, what does the mind believe? What do you believe about the environment that you're living in? Do you believe that you have tools, you have opportunities, you have relationships, you have abilities to create whatever you want? Or do you believe that you are living in a world and an environment that is totally against you? It's an environment that is there to keep you down. Now, when you look at that in the concept of what I refer to as the stick person, where you have a conscious mind and a subconscious mind, your belief is generated as a thought in your conscious mind. However, that belief is carried into your subconscious mind. And that belief is what causes you to assume that the economy is against you or assume the economy is for you. It's that belief that causes you to act in the ways that you're going to either act or not act. It's a belief that causes you to seek out information that tells you how you are going to be able to function in our environment today and either be successful or a failure. So when you look at who you are and you start finding out that you have all of these powers within you, how do the powers operate? Well, that's what Napoleon Hill was trying to point out to different people. And he was trying to say, well, there's really 10 steps in this mechanism and in this process. And what those steps were was desire. You had to have a burning desire for what you wanted. So let's assume that you wanted to build a $450 a month more income. Or you wanted to build a $50,000 annual income. Or $150,000. Well, what about $2 million? Without having a burning desire to choose what it is that you wanted to do, why would you do it? You wouldn't do it. If you didn't have a burning desire when you signed up to go in the military, because the draft doesn't exist, if you didn't have the desire to fight for flag and country, why would you do it? So that's what they're really talking about. That's the first item, or the first step. Second step, as far as looking at this, is faith, and I'll just kind of whip through these pretty quickly. Second step is faith. Third step is self-suggestion. The fourth step is knowledge. The fifth step is imagination. The sixth step is organized planning. Seventh step is persistence. The eighth step is decision. Ninth step is transmutation. And the 10th step is manifestation. Now, to understand these, and we're trying to look at this from a business perspective, and we're saying, okay, how can we take Napoleon Hill's philosophy and create that business for ourselves, because we are needy veterans who want to make more money, we want to change our lives, we want to have better lifestyles and whatever. So let's go back, and we were talking about the first one, which was a burning desire. And this is really the starting point of all achievement, like I tried to point out. And that if you look at this as a way to create a business, there are certain steps that you really need to focus on. First step is to fix in your mind the exact amount of money or desire that you have. So if it's to build a business and you're going to fix this in your mind, how are you going to do that? Second step is to determine exactly what you intend to give in return for the money of the business. So if we look at the two industries that we talked about, are you willing to work in the wellness industry? Are you willing to work with the internet industry? If you're not, then you don't have a burning desire, so as a result you won't do this. Third step is to establish a definite date when you intend to possess either the business, the money, or the desire. The thing about dreaming and goals is what? A dream does not have a date of its completion on it. However, a goal does. And as you start to understand how your conscious and subconscious mind works, your subconscious mind will never give you what you want unless you put a date on it. So you have to know. The fourth step is to create a clear, definite plan for carrying out your desire. A lot of times people say, well, I want a new car. I want a new wife. I want a new house. I want to be a millionaire. And you sit down and you ask them, you say, well, this is what you want. Where's the plan, man? Or you listen to some of the old songs that were out there, don't need to be coy, boy. Just give the plan to me. So without that plan, where are you? Step number 5 is to write out a clear, concise statement of the amount of money you intend to acquire, the time limit, and what you intend to give for it, and describe clearly through your plan when you are going to accumulate it and what you're going to do. So you talk to a lot of vets, it's like I just did a program on being discharged from the military, and I focused on plans. You look at building a business like this, and we're talking about what's the plan. We talk to you and we say, okay, how much time does it take? You don't need to be a rocket scientist to put this together, but you do need to understand these steps. The 6th step is you need to read your statement aloud twice, daily, when you get up in the morning and when you go to bed at night. And why do you do that? The reason you do that is you take the conflict away from your conscious mind and your subconscious mind, because if you understand that your subconscious mind is the law of your life, that is the law that's going to attract to you whatever you need to make it happen, what happens is you now get it because there's no conflict. And by focusing on this throughout the day, if something bad happens to you, you come up with an affirmation, you say, well, this is what I believe. For instance, one of the affirmations that I use is, by the power of Jesus Christ and the power of Jehovah, I have the power to do whatever. I have the power to build my business. I have the power to take care of those types of things. Next step you look at was to have faith in the system. So faith is really a visualization and a belief that you'll attain the desire that you want. The next step is to look at the autosuggestion, because autosuggestion is really your self-talk. So you're telling yourself every day that this is good for you or it's bad for you. Next step is to look at specialized knowledge, because specialized knowledge is what's going to allow you to be able to use the system to create the business that you want. Next step is imagination. You've got to see the very business or see the number that you want within your mind in order to make that work for you. And that's called the law of visualization. Next step, number 6, is organized planning, and we sort of talked about that a little bit. But without an organized plan, where can you go? It's sort of like taking a step for 1,000-mile journey. If you don't have a plan or direction you're going to go, any step is good, right? Well, this is what you got to put together for yourself. Step number 7 is to make a decision on what you're going to do. How are you going to do it? Why are you going to do it? Is it going to work for you? So if you're looking at a business or you're looking at money that you need to acquire, what's the decision? Without the decision, you can't get over the next item, which is procrastination. A lot of people say they're going to do something, but they don't do it. If they did understand how their mind worked and the way that would produce those items for them, there would be no procrastination. The 9th step is transmutation, and that's where you change whatever situation you're presently living in, and you manifest in your reality, in your world, exactly what it is you want. The 10th step is demonstration. Now, I know that was a really brief overview of what you could do with Think and Grow Rich as a veteran who's coming back, deciding that they may want to work in one industry or another. But it gives you sort of a foundational understanding of how you can change whatever it is that's happening to you. It gives you a book that you might spend $6 for that can actually transform your life. You might start wondering, might start really thinking about the fact that there's a lot of America's wealthiest men who used the same principles I just went over that gave them what they wanted. But since we're talking about a business here, you want to know how to start this business, obviously, because you want to be able to put more money in your life. So what's the first step? And that is you got to join the business, right? You got to join the industry. You got to say this is what you want. The second step is you must decide what you want as a business owner. Why do you want to join a business? You want to end up making more money, you want to pay for your kids' education, you want to buy a new car, buy a new house. Why is it you want to do this? The next step is you must decide on the amount of income that you wish to generate from the business or the job, if that's what you want. And as a result of doing that, you start finding out that yes, it's going to become important to you, and it's going to happen in your life because that's what your law of your life is all about. And the next step is you must agree to use and follow a system that already works. And that's one of the things that I'll talk about, is because when you're dealing with the wellness and the internet industry, you're looking at marketing systems, you're looking at selling systems. So the marketing system that we always talk about is the 3 ways to grow your business system. And what that requires is that you increase the number of clients that you have, you increase the amount of sale that is happening, and you increase the frequency of sale. If you can do that, that covers the first system. The second system is to understand that there's a selling mechanism and a selling process. And if you were to write this down on a sheet of paper, you want to put down 3 words. The first one is 4 phases of the selling system. And those 4 phases of the selling system include creating a list. The second phase means you need to make certain contacts with the people who will buy products and services from you. The next phase, which is phase number 3, is you want to work on showing the plan. What showing the plan is, what does the business require that you show someone so they will either become a client or a partner with you? The 4th phase is follow-up. The person's not going to make a decision right then and there. They're going to want to check it out, research it, do whatever. And as a result of following up, you're going to find out what their objections are. Maybe they might not have any. And the last step is really getting the result and looking at that targeted result. Who is that person that is your ideal client for the business that you have? And so what we say is we draw this up in a pipeline, and that's the second word over. You start looking at it, what's the universe? So you can imagine a person or an item going into a pipeline, and as it comes down through the different funnels and shafts, it finally comes down on the bottom and it identifies the ideal client for you. So what's the ideal client for these 2 industries? Well, I figure the ideal client is a person who is willing to follow 8 essential steps. Not complicated steps, but relatively 8 steps that gives you a person that you can work with. So what are those 8 steps? The first one is to listen to CDs. In fact, when you start looking at the first 5 steps, it's really a personal development system. It's a business development system that every business in America uses. Second step would be to read about 15 minutes. Third step would be to follow or attend functions. 4th step would be to associate with like-minded people. 5th step would be to counsel with people like me who actually knew what they were talking about. Next step would be your own financial development. If you have a business, are you going to use your own products and services? Are you going to talk other people into doing that? Absolutely. 7th step would be to develop certain types of customers, because you know, as far as the selling process in business in America, every business has different types of clients. So you have to identify who that client is. And the last step, obviously, is to show a presentation that actually includes what it is your products and services do. So now we have the 2 systems saying, okay, can we do this? Can we build this system to end up making it work? Can we really get you to the $450 a month, maybe the $50,000 a year, the $150 a year, or the $2.7 million a year? See, once you identify that client and you know what your steps are, and you know what the systems are that you're going to be working with, there is no doubt that you can get there. And why would I say that? Well, the reality is that every business in America works off the same principles and the same ideas. So what I can say now is that if you start looking at the 2 industries, and you know that there's 3 ways to grow your business, and you know that there's a selling mechanism to make it work, what's so hot about these industries? Well, what's hot about these industries is there's a potential available earning to you that can go from 0 to $6 trillion. Not a bad deal if you're a suffering veteran who wants to make a little money. What are the types of products and services they offer? What about health, nutrition, wellness, sports nutrition, vitamins and supplements? weight management, energy drinks, beauty products, skin cream and makeup, personal care and fragrances, bath and beauty, hair care, home cleaning, laundry products, air and water, different types of systems. How about baby care, batteries and lights, candles, and air fragrances, pet food and all that other sort of thing, gift collections, food and beverages, jewelry and apparel. If you look at those things and you look at the average person who uses those things, don't all of us use all those different products and services almost every day? So all these two industries are pointing out is that you are trying to plug into an industry that you're already doing what you're already doing. There was a program that was talked about household gold, and it was a very interesting concept that talked about the fact that on average, the American household spends $750 a month for these types of products and services. If you was to multiply that times the number of American households, there's roughly 1 million. If you talk about the income that's available, it's about 750 million. And if you talk about the annual revenues, it's about $1 trillion a year. So what I'd like to say to you is, you're going to be thinking as a veteran what money is available and what you can do with the types of money that's available. Well, what I would suggest that you do is you either give me a call. My name's Mike Kissinger. My number is 415-678-9965. Contact me. Ask me what the industries can do for you, or contact somebody that you already know that is knowledgeable on those types of industries and see what they'll do for you, and then contact me. If you're willing to do that, you're willing to say, I'm not going to let America, I'm not going to let my circumstances and my environment keep me as a disabled vet, keep me as a poor vet, keep me as a spouse that's not making the type of money that we need to make, then there is a solution for you. So I'd like to thank you for your time today, so you have a great day. Thank you very much.